Hello friends, Tom Waits' 1999 album Mule Variations was his 13th studio album, following on from Black Rider and preceding Alice. It won a Grammy for the Best Country Folk Album and is placed at number 416 in the Greatest Albums of All Time by Rolling Stone magazine. It gives us 70 minutes of music, was co-produced and co-written by Kathleen Brennan, his wife, and was rated 4 out of 5 by AllMusic. So what do we make of Tom Waits? Well, for me, he's a supremely gifted lyricist, a great songwriter, and a unique performer, who is probably not to everyone's taste. Now, a comment I came across on YouTube, I think sums him up quite well. Somebody said his songs are about real people, broken dreams, hard times, and above all, hope and redemption. I think that's a really good summary that kind of flows through his work. Now, a lot of his songs, you can read them as poems and you can get to know them that way before you even hear the melodies and the harmonies that he's come up with and his very unusual mix of instruments. And there are different genres in which he performs and writes, such as jazz and blues, and his own particular style of production, which I've heard described as variously a crazed band of skeletons or a pirate ghost ship. I think that sums it up pretty well. But one of the things we need to address is, what do I make of this song? How am I supposed to listen to this song? It's not something you can put on in the background. It's not something you can maybe relax to. But what can we get out of a very unusual song? And I think there's some crossovers here with some of the material of Kate Bush, another great creative artist, but on occasions not that easy to listen to. But those songs are quite fascinating, aren't they? To just dig a bit beneath the surface. It's probably going to take a lot of listens to get more out of it. So I think there's some crossovers between those kind of artists. Now, one of the things I like about Tom Waits is the brilliant artwork you get on his album. So you've seen the cover there of this one in the booklet as well. We get this sort of scarecrow effect on that. And as well as the lyrics, we get other sort of pictures of bleakness as we go through the booklet. And there's another one further on, another bleak landscape. And right at the back here, we've got something going on in a cornfield or something. It's just brilliant and very evocative of the whole mood of the album. Now, where did the title come from? Well, apparently Tom Waits' wife said, "I didn't marry a man, I married a mule." So Tom then went away and came up with these mule variations. Now, it's a real mixed bag, this album, but I really would urge you to have a go with it and see what you think. You may need to listen to it a few times, though, before the songs start to sink in. Now, just a reminder for any new viewers, I grade each song out of 10, ranging from terrible up to out of this world. Most songs will be scoring somewhere in the middle, outstanding ones going up there, and disappointing ones going down there. Now, let's have a go at the first track. Now, the opening track is Big in Japan. Now, I think the message possibly about this is that perhaps slightly unsuccessful pop artists of the past may not have done very well in their home countries, but they might have boasted, well, we're big in Japan, though. So I think Tom here is looking at the music industry maybe and thinking, well, perhaps some of the success isn't quite as merited as it might be. He's addressing that in this rather unusual song, and a very bizarre choice as an opener, I have to say. There's some great lyrics in here, like you've got the sizzle but not the steak. Some lovely wordplay there. It's an edgy sort of guitar-driven rhythm. The distorted vocals make it a kind of anarchic sound. And some of the sounds there sound a little bit improvised. The drums are fantastically exciting. If you've got a good stereo system, you really will enjoy this. So I'm going to say it's a fairly good opener for the album. Give it 5. Now, in terms of openings of albums, these first two tracks really are quite left field. But the second one is called Low Side of the Road, and appears to be about someone's slide into moral degradation and depravity, somebody being controlled by their desires. It's got a line in about the dice are throwing him rather than him throwing the dice. One of the comments I read about this, somebody said it sounds like it was recorded on a boat in a swamp, and it actually does, so give that a listen. It is atmospheric, it is hypnotic, it's not perhaps the greatest melody on this one. The instrumentation is very enjoyable, some unusual instruments going on here, a chumbus and a dusun goni, which I think might be Turkish instruments. You might know more about those. I'd say it's an average one, this, going to give it 4. Now, track number 3 is Hold On, which was a single from the album. It's about a woman who leaves, goes on the road, urges Jim to join her, but somehow it doesn't work out and she finds herself a long way from home. Some beautiful lyrics in this. The moon was gold, her hair like wind. And it reminds me a little bit of a Bruce Springsteen song, maybe something from The Ghost of Tom Joad, that sort of mood, that sort of period for Bruce Springsteen. Tom Waits apparently described it as an optimistic song, that we're all holding on to something. What is it that you hold on to? What is it that gets you through? And it's written with his wife Kathleen here, and he says it's a song about being in love. This is a more commercial sound for Tom. It's rhythmic. His vocal is much more sort of natural and clearer in a way. The refrain is beautiful, very memorable and moving. It's a confident, well-crafted song for me. Definitely worth a listen. I'm going to rate this one as excellent. 8 out of 10. Now, track number 4 is a long one. We get about 7 minutes of this one. It's called Get Behind the Mule. Now, this is another story. Let me get this right. Molly murders Jimmy with a pistol and a rope. The corpse is dragged behind the mule. 2 boys help her to bury it. Molly is then hanged in Weaverville. Waits casts himself in the role of the grave digger who made the coffin and dug the grave. So the kind of message is to stay wise and keep watch. So Tom here is in fairly restrained mood on the vocal. He tells a good story. It's quite involving, maybe a little bit long, this one, but it's an interesting listen. And the band parts here are absolutely fascinating the way they're layered. Again, listen to it on a good system and you will be rewarded here. So I've written, this is a pretty good song. I'm going to give it good 6. Now, track number 5 is a ballad, The House Where Nobody Lives. Tom on piano here, and he's beautiful pianist. And he seems to use kind of an oldish upright piano, that sort of barroom sound that comes through on this. His message here is that a happy home is the key to happiness. And he's walking by an abandoned house and recalls how it used to be. What came to mind here for me was the film It's a Wonderful Life and the abandoned house in that, and how they were kind of evoking how life used to be inside that abandoned house. Got some great lines in this. If there's love in a house, it's a palace for sure. Got a fairly clear, almost sort of normal voice for song here, Tom. A simpler compliment. This is a lovely track. It's kind of a plea for domesticity and love, which are better than money. Lovely song this, very enjoyable indeed. I rate it very good, 7. Now, track number 6 is Cold Water. Now, this may or may not be about a real incident where somebody was arrested after trying to help a man and who was being beaten by the police. And then it's about homelessness and the sort of result of that. We've got a slow bluesy arrangement here, simple melody and construction to the song, but it's a decent song with a strong and gutsy vocal. Slightly sort of, again, a Springsteen voice from Born in the USA, that sort of slightly sort of craggy, passion voice. And both of them refer to Vietnam veterans, of course. So I like the harmony vocals coming in on this. And it's actually a decent listen, this one. I'm going to rate it as good. Give it 6. Track number 7 is called Pony. Tom here's playing the guitar and the pump organ. You get the impression he might be sort of, I don't know, sitting out on the step or maybe in a rocking chair or something, singing this sort of sad, pensive, moody song. It's about a tired traveller who's been away, jumping from train to train. He's left a home full of dreams, but now feels empty and is ready to go home. Is he going to give up? Or is he going to give up and then just leave the pony to find its own way home? Or is he going to go home on the pony? Apparently he shot someone and he's facing life in prison. So that's the kind of the story behind this. There's great detail on this song. He's created wonderful characters like Old Blind Darby, and Ida Jane. These are vivid images. It's really moving. It's really sad, and one of the highlights on the album for me. I'm going to give it an excellent 8 out of 10. Now, track number 8 is a famous one. It's called What's He Building? This is really a poem which Tom speaks against a very eerie soundtrack. Now, I used to think it was about someone who was maybe a serial killer and what the neighbours thought about his house. But the other reading of this is that it's about a perfectly normal person, law-abiding person, but there's the paranoia of the neighbours who are inventing stories about him. It's all about the neighbour rather than the person in the house, perhaps, and that all this paranoia is actually in our heads. And there's great lines in it, such as, "He has no friends, but he gets a lot of mail. We have a right to know," it ends up saying. Tom has created this weird soundscape for this poem. There's things like a radio tuning in, there's gongs, crashes, there's kind of horror film sound effects. It's just magnificent and very listenable, actually. I'm going to rate this as very good, 7 out of 10. Track number 9 is Black Market Baby. This is about somebody who could be classy, but kind of chooses to live a dangerous life. Somebody said this sounds like it's been recorded in a haunted house. Maybe it was. We've got some great lines there, like a diamond who wants to stay cold, somebody who chooses not to make themselves better. It's mysterious music. There's kind of deliberate radio fuzz on here. His voice is fairly normal, and it's a slow ballad in a minor key. It's not great, but it's still fascinating. I would say average for this, 4. Track number 10 is another slightly strange one, this one, Eyeball Kid. It's about a comic book character who just has an eyeball for a head. And maybe this is Tom's take on sort of damaged people and how they're treated by others. He says, how does he dream? How does he think? Why, he can't even speak and he can't even blink. Tom is kind of articulating our own madness here, and this has got a bizarre setting. It's just his voice and some percussion for much of the song, plus some samples from various soundtracks, maybe crowd noise, whatever. But it's an interesting listen. I'll probably give it 4. Track number 11 is Picture in a Frame. This is a pure, beautiful love song. It's about somebody calling on their loved one in his Sunday best. I'm going to love you till the wheels come off. We've got a gentle piano intro from Tom. We've got a simple, gentle and moving melody. We've got repeated lyric lines. It's a bit like a 12-bar blues sort of structure there. It's so emotional. There's a couple of saxes come in with the piano solo. It's the sort of song you could choose to be sung at your wedding. Absolutely beautiful, excellent, 8 out of 10. Track number 12 is called Chocolate Jesus. Tom on the guitar for this one. It's about somebody who doesn't go to church but buys a chocolate Jesus instead from the sweet shop. Is Tom here criticising religious obsessives? Is this a satire on fundamentalist religion? A kind of a monetized Jesus and maybe televangelists asking you to send money into them. Apparently, Tom had seen an advert for Testaments, which was some sort of merchandise based on the New Testament, Old Testament, and said sort of, what next? A chocolate Jesus. This was recorded outside, and apparently there's a real rooster crowing on this one. He's got a simple band with him. It's a live recording, but it's a nice, affecting folk song and a very interesting message going on here. 5 out of 10 for me. Track number 13 is called Georgia Lee. This is about a real-life incident in which a girl was kidnapped and killed, and her murderers were never caught. Her name is Georgia Moses. And apparently another case similar to this got a lot more media attention. So Tom is kind of asking the questions, who's speaking up for Georgia Lee? We've got here this rich upright piano sound. We've got a sort of harmonia coming in and a bass and a violin, very sort of natural sounding instruments. And Tom's great worn out voice makes the message even more powerful. The refrain is slightly offbeat, very memorable, a simple arrangement. This is a brilliant, passionate plea against injustice. If you only listen to one song on this album, listen to this one because it's brilliant. 9 out of 10. Now, track number 14 is another odd one, a Filipino box spring hog. Apparently maybe about a kind of white trash barbecue, you know, sort of people standing around eating lots of meat, having right-wing sort of prejudiced attitudes about things. Or it could be about an eviction party. There's a pig being barbecued on an old box spring. It's a bit like a sort of a marching song, this one. There's very rich character imagery going on. He actually name checks his wife partway through here. He said, "It stinks like hell and the neighbours complain, don't give a hoot what they say." So I don't know what we're supposed to do with a track like this, except just let it wash over us and imagine we're kind of in this scene and are caught up in this great bit of storytelling. It's definitely exciting to listen to. It's certainly alternative. It's moody and mean. I like it. I'm going to give it 7 out of 10. Track number 15 is Take It With Me. This has been covered by Patty Griffin, interestingly. I must listen to that. This is about the transition into death. What can we take with us? All that you've loved is all your own, he's saying here. It's got the line in this, it's a long time since I drank champagne, which apparently were Chekhov's last words. It's an end of the day sort of love song. We can only take love with us. It's a beautiful lament. It's a delicate lyric. There's exquisite beauty here and sensitivity that draws out our emotions. It's like an old man looking back on his life. Quality song, this one, without doubt. Excellent for me. 8 out of 10. Now, the album ends with Come On Up to the House. Tom on piano here and his band. This is like a gospel song. There's chaos and despair. You're down on your luck. You're rock bottom. What is going to help? Where is the safe haven? Is there a religious undertone to this or not? I'm not quite sure. It's not specific on this, but it's got an angry and passionate delivery from Tom here and an engaging refrain. It sounds a bit like a Pete Seeger folk song, maybe this. The world is not my home, I'm just a passing through. It's a very good, engaging tune, this one you can get caught up in, and it's a nice way to finish the album. Makes you think. Very good. 7 out of 10. We get 16 tracks here. I scored a total of 103 marks. That gives us an average of 6.44 marks per track. Now, if you look at my guide here, 6.44, this makes it between a good and a very good album for me. This is purely my enjoyment. Lots of people have different views on this, of course, and please feel free to share them below. So there's lots to enjoy on this album. I really recommend you give it a go. Not just the ballads, but some of the slightly more upbeat and stranger songs like Filipino Box Spring Hog are great examples of storytelling and presented in Tom's own inimitable way. So tell me what you think about this. Tell me your favourite track. What do you think of Tom Waits? I'm certainly a fan and going to be looking at more of his albums. Thanks for watching. See you soon.